All right, here we go. Let's do. Do you want to do gallery view or I think we should do gallery view so that yeah. Welcome back in to The Future is Female. I, of course, am your host, Gabrielle Ducharme, joined here today by my co-host, Nicole Pinter. Nicole, how you doing on this fine day about 1 o'clock in the afternoon when we're recording this?
I'm doing good. Life, it's going well. It's going well as it can. How about you?
You know what? It's going okay. It's going okay. I definitely do miss doing the shows like in person, both of us in studio, but I'm grateful for the fact that we do get to do them because I really missed it, over that 6 month span where we didn't. We hit it off hard last week. Had a lot of great content firing at people, and this week it is more of the same. Thank you very much. We're going to jump right into it though, of course. WNBA wraparound, my new personal favorite segment. Nicole, I gotta ask, did you watch the WNBA finals or see any photos or highlights or anything like that?
Well, I think I saw the photos and pictures everyone else saw on Twitter of Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. That's about all I saw, unfortunately, but it looked effortless almost for Seattle to take the title.
Yeah. And I mean that's exactly what occurred. The Seattle Storm, they're like they're like the Boston Celtics or the Los Angeles Lakers of the WNBA. Like they're the best franchise, or like the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, right? They're just the franchise that nobody can really figure out how to beat right now. Breanna Stewart, Jewel Lloyd, Jordan Canada. Those are all players under the age of about 25 that will be coming back. All players that were on the 2016 championship team as well. So the Storm are just dominant. And of course, they're dominant for a reason as well. Beyond those three players, they have a 39-year-old future basketball Hall of Famer named Sue Bird. And Sue Bird's girlfriend, of course, you mentioned it, Nicole. She made an appearance in the Wubble. The legendary Megan Rapinoe of U.S. women's soccer. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the the greatness that is that couple, right? The greatness that's on display with their athletic abilities. Because I think so. Megan Rapinoe at this point, she's won a couple of gold medals. She's won a couple of World Cups. She's the star of U.S. women's soccer. She is the center of it all for that team. And then on the other side, oh yeah, her girlfriend has won more than she has, which is saying something. Because Sue Bird, she's a four-time WNBA champion. She started playing WNBA ball in 2002, which people are like, oh, 2002, that's not that long ago. You're like, oh yeah, it was 18 years ago. Thank you very much. To give you some perspective, Nicole and I are both like in our early 20s. So like Sue Bird's been playing basketball almost as long as Nicole and I have been alive, which is saying something. She's been playing ball a lot longer than pretty much any high schooler in this country has been alive. So of course, the dominance on court and then just the inspiration off court of really showing that people should be able to express themselves how they want, and that you should be able to put aside your ego to support the ones you love and everything like that. I don't know. Nicole, I feel like the statement that couple makes together, it's bigger than sport. It's bigger than just being able to win on the court or on the soccer field. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and it's funny because I saw ESPNW posted a tweet of the two on the court, and Paula actually, on Twitter and Facebook, you're never supposed to read the comments, and so Paula posted, like, you love to see it, just don't look at the comments. I looked at the comments, but they were all like very positive, and that was like so amazing to see. Especially, it feels like for some reason, especially in the world we are in today, something that you don't see a lot are the comments being positive. So that was really cool. And just, yeah, that moment was really cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. The comments on social media, the support that the two have kind of gotten over the last couple of years. I think they've been together now for like 2 years or something like that. But like when you also look at the Seattle Storm on court, they were one of the franchises that really helped to basically set the standard for basketball and for the Black Lives Matter movement, and how the two the WNBA in specific, and the Black Lives Matter movement would intersect, because in that circumstance, you're essentially dealing with two monsters of like minority groups. With not only are you dealing with, African American people in this country and, Black people in this country who are literally fighting tooth and nail just to have a voice and to be, and to be treated as equals. But then you also have the element of, this is the women's league. This isn't the men's league where they make $30 million a year. So the women's league in general just does not have the same platform as the men's league. But the Seattle Storm and Breanna Stewart, starting literally from the first game, they were already making very, very strong statements. Breanna Stewart was the first one to speak before that first game back on July 25th when they were facing the New York Liberty. And it was incredibly moving to see the impact that this franchise has, not only on court, but also off court. And of course, that impact will continue long after their WNBA championship, I guess, feeling and vibe wears off. It will stretch long into 2021 and beyond that. So a super, super inspiring moment right there on the court. That's, of course, a wrap on the 2020 Wubble WNBA season. But I'm already counting down the days until the next one. I really, truly am. And then, of course, sticking with basketball, but going over to the men's side. Nicole, we got an NBA Finals game tomorrow evening, don't we?
Oh, we do. We do. And I know we'll talk about it later. I am a known non-Lakers fan and non-LeBron stan. I love everything he does off the court. I feel like I have to make this abundantly clear. He is a good person. I just don't like him on the court. I just don't want him to win because him and his fans are annoying. I'm sorry, Gabby, I love you. This is all due respect. But him and the Lakers winning, oh my God, it's like the two worst fan bases to get. I'm sorry. All due respect to both.
All due respect, but I'm gonna rip on you like no other right now. Ready, go.
I'm sorry. I had to say that. Go for it.
No, but well, here's the thing. And I'm just kind of poking fun at you because I know that you love me. I know that a lot of people think that a lot of Lakers fans and stuff like that jumped on board with being obsessed with LeBron James or being obsessed with that team. For me, it was really different because I had always admired LeBron James ever since I was 9 years old. And I'd always admired the Lakers because I'm from Southern California since I was 9 years old. Literally, I still remember vividly that week in the NBA playoffs, 2009, LeBron James was going up against the Orlando Magic at the time. He was 24 years old. He was still a year away from joining the Miami Heat at this time. And I remember this game-winning shot that he hit over Hedo Turkoglu in the 2009 NBA it was the Eastern Conference Finals at that time. And he hit this game-winning shot, and it was the first sight I really truly remember of watching him play. I was about 8 at the time, 9 years old, something like that. And then within that same week, I also watched the Lakers play. I watched Kobe Bryant play for the first time, and I was kind of hooked after that. There was really no argument whatsoever for whether or not I would support both the Lakers and LeBron James, no matter where he kind of ended up playing. And as I've kind of progressed throughout my time in college and my time in school, I've been able to kind of essentially begin just appreciating basketball for its greatness rather than appreciating it for being this bonkers crazy fan, because I want to work in this space. I want to be in this space for the rest of my life, right? So you have to have a certain level of professionalism. And I want to transition a little bit. The NBA Finals just as a whole, they've been this entire movement surrounding the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant, his widowed wife, his incredible daughters that he and his daughter Gigi left behind. And of course, Nicole, do you know that they're wearing the Black Mamba jerseys come that next game, come game number 5 tomorrow evening?
Yeah, I saw that they switched, and I think we all know why. But you had talked to me last night, which, yeah, never mind, doesn't matter. Because of when this is premiering. But and you talked to me about what those jerseys mean to the fan base, the franchise. just tell us about that.
Well, really, I kind of have I have this approach with these jerseys, and it feels like what they mean for the legacy of the franchise, as well as what they mean for Kobe Bryant's legacy, is, of course, the first thing that I notice is, of course, the snake print, the snake print on the jerseys. And that, of course, resembles the Mamba mentality, right? It represents just something so much bigger than basketball. And with all of that, the snake print, it just resembles like this attack mode that you go into when you go on the court. I've heard a lot of people say who like they put the jerseys on. Like I don't own one or anything, but like when they put the jerseys on, they feel like they've like entered another planet. And you look at them, and you're like, what does that mean? They're like, well, I feel like I'm literally in the body of a snake right now. I don't feel like I am, I'm like a human being. And that just kind of resembles like the Mamba mentality. And so like when the Lakers put those jerseys on, I guess it's like it's supposed to kind of tick up their competitive nature, right? It's supposed to kind of inspire them in a bigger way. So that's kind of the first thing. It's like, what does that snake skin truly mean? And then, of course, the all black. The all black it's so interesting to see like the uniform itself being all black, because the way that Kobe Bryant and Nike and the NBA and everything made those jerseys was because when somebody wears all black, you don't know when they will attack. You don't know when they're really truly going to strike. And when you think about a snake in and of itself, you don't know when it's going to strike. It could be totally harmless and ignore you, or it could absolutely lash out at you and destroy you within seconds. And that's kind of how the Los Angeles Lakers play. They might start out the game slowly and you're thinking, oh, okay, yeah, I got this. It reminds me of in game number 1 when the Lakers were down like 13, and we thought in our heads, we were like, oh, wow, the Heat are actually going to be competitive in this series. And then the Lakers strike the same way that a snake might and absolutely destroy them. And then, of course, the last approach essentially being that they're unbeaten in these uniforms for a reason. When you look at those uniforms, you see the snake print, you see the all black, you see in the corner they have like this little heart for Gigi Bryant. It has her number in it because there is no 2 without 24, right? Like that's the quote that's always been said. There is no 2 without 24. There is no Kobe Bryant without his daughter Gigi. And you just look at the power behind a uniform like that. It's like it's almost like it's terrible luck if you do lose in it, because you're kind of dishonoring this incredible legacy that the Mama mentality is, I will refuse to lose. And so much of the time in sport, I feel like people try to put more into uniforms and patterns than they really can, and a lot of times the patterns end up flopping, or the uniforms themselves end up just not being as significant as people thought. I know it's something the NBA does constantly. It's something that the NFL doesn't do as much, but like college football, Oregon football does it constantly. And you look at it, you're like, it's just a big mishmash of I don't know what. But I think that's what's so unique about the Mamba mentality jerseys, and just the Kobe Bryant snakeskin colorway, because it's truly, there's a very clean cut message with it. And so because of that as well, there was this one quote that I saw on this YouTube video. Literally this morning it was released, and this is right in the midst of me thinking about this piece I want to say about the jerseys, and it says, an emotional, tearful, transformative journey of a group of men in a jersey becoming one. It was how a video was closed out from ESPN. It was essentially ESPN doing a piece literally on the uniforms. Like that was the profile piece. It was on the uniforms, and they interviewed the designer who put them together with Kobe Bryant just a couple of years ago. And so when you look at a quote like that and you think about how timing is everything, there was a reason why I had those thoughts last night of, I want to talk about these jerseys in particular. I want to talk about what they mean to this franchise, because it's an emotional, tearful, transformative journey of men and jersey becoming one. So That's what I got. Of course, on the Kobe Bryant end of things, we will see how this game number 5 goes. It's supposed to be on ABC at about 6 p.m. and we'll see. Maybe the NBA bubble season is officially coming to an end, or the Heat will strike back quickly, violently, and take advantage of the fact that this team might be prematurely celebrating. We will see, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to note, in Game 4, Jimmy Butler was the reason they won. The Heat won Game 4. The first player to rebound, out shoot LeBron and his 40-point triple-double. Absolutely insane. We'll see if that matters. Like you said, it'll be tough though, because I don't see how the Lakers, especially in the finals, losing those jerseys.
Yeah, I don't either. And of course, as the NBA season is winding down, the NFL season is just ramping up. Some teams are playing really, really good football. Others are, shall we say, not meeting expectations. Nicole, the Houston Texans, they just fired their head coach. Their team is an absolute disaster. Can you just explain, why are the Houston Texans 0-4 when they have Deshaun Watson as their quarterback?
Yeah, that's a tough one. But, I mean, the answer is pretty clear when you look at, first of all, Bill O'Brien was the GM and the head coach. So he was fired from both of those. He was a terrible GM. I think everyone knew that when he traded DeAndre Hopkins. A coach was to be up for debate, obviously not anymore. Losing D-Hop has been huge to their offense. And Deshaun Watson is running around with no offensive line and with no one to throw to. Now, the Vikings game was close. I haven't looked at the video enough of if that's a catch or not at the end of the game.
Right.
But between the Texans and Vikings, two teams everyone thought, oh, playoff contenders. Maybe they'll be like 2-1 at that point, 3-0, and they're trying not to become 0-4. But yeah, I think it was the right call. I think Bill O'Brien's been given enough chances for the betterment of Deshaun Watson. Allegedly hearing more that J.J. Watt and Bill O'Brien got at it just last week or so about his coaching. J.J. Watt called him out for his coaching. Might want to thank him, Houston, for the firing. And it's funny because after the game, Bill O'Brien was like, he wasn't the head play caller. He's like, I'll be head play caller now. That's what I'm doing. And the Texans were like, nope, no, you're gone. We don't want that. Nuh-uh. No. Do not touch Deshaun Watson or J.J. Watt anymore. So it's when you drop to 0-4 and you blow a 24-0 lead in the playoffs, yeah, right. This was coming. Sorry. So I think it's the right call. Romeo Crennel is now the interim head coach, which will be interesting. Yeah, that's all I got. I think it's the right call. What about you?
But here's my thing on it. Like the NFL has always been like it hasn't really been like a players league, not in the same way that like the NBA has, I would say, or even like the NHL, the MLB. It seems like the players also have a decent amount of power, but the NFL really hasn't. And the fact that J.J. Watt was the one who walked up to his coach and said, "Okay, buddy, we gotta talk, because clearly what you're doing is not working for this franchise." I think it just speaks volumes to maybe there's a revolution happening in the NFL where they are going to start listening to players more. And they are going to start, the coaches aren't necessarily going to yield quite as much power as they once did, right? So I don't know. I think that's kind of the part that is the most interesting to me, is the fact that, J.J. Watt is kind of the one to thank for it. And then also the fact that, they have this franchise QB in Deshaun Watson who's about to enter his prime. And they're wasting away. Like, they traded away his best wide receiver this year to the Arizona Cardinals, to the, the team that I live, 15 minutes away from their practice.
And for nothing.
Yeah, I think they traded, who did they trade? Johnson? I can't remember what the player was.
They got David Johnson and traded like a second and a fourth. It's a trade Madden wouldn't even accept. Just to be clear. So it's as the players league is interesting. I think that's something we'll have to get into more next time and down the line. I slightly disagree with you, and most of that is because of what we're seeing in the bigger picture.
Right.
With it's always going to be the owner's call. It's always going to be about money. And
Right.
if that's at the player's expense, it's at the player's expense. Who cares?
Right.
The owners don't. Moving on though, sticking with the AFC South, the Titans announced 2 more players have tested positive for COVID. That brings the total to 23 players since September 24th, I believe it was. So the game that was supposed to be taking place last week versus the Steelers was rescheduled for week 7. The NFL is discussing possibilities for this week's game versus the Bills, and Diana Rossini was told by the Titans and the Bills, this was Thursday morning, there is an option of playing their Sunday game on Monday or Tuesday in Nashville. If that happens, the next Thursday night's game between the Chiefs at Bills will be moved to Saturday. Now, this is all just being discussed. But sticking with that, one of the possibilities also is the Titans forfeiting the game. And this is what a lot of players are sort of calling for because of the COVID outbreak.
Right.
Is this fair? Briefly, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated at the NFL. I am frustrated, frankly, at a lot of professional leagues, like kind of outside of the NBA, for how they and the NHL, the NBA and the NHL, I think did the right thing by going into a bubble scenario. For them, it helped that their season was coming to an end and everything. They really truly had left to play was the playoffs. That was pretty much it. But when you look at the NFL, I am very frustrated by how they're treating their athletes right now, because this goes back to this players league argument and why they're putting money first, why it's very clear they're putting money first. You look at it, you're like, you have 22 players diagnosed with COVID-19. Is that I got to ask Nicole, is that all in the Titans, or is that just throughout the league they have 22 positive cases?
That's just the Titans. There are more
Okay.
Cam Newton, Stephon Gilmore, the Patriots, and possibly
Right.
more Patriots.
Right.
Former Wolverine Maurice Hurst on the Raiders, he's a scary situation because he had heart problems coming out of college
Right.
and couldn't do the combine, had problems with that. So I'm worried about him and players like him. So this is where it becomes worrisome.
So that's why I'm very worried. Like, to hear that that's just on the Titans team. There's only about 50 some odd players on each football team, and to think that almost half of one team has contracted COVID-19, probably not counting staff members and everything like that. But so I'm very, very worried about the NFL season. I'm worried about how the owners are treating the situation, how they're still trying to shove a football game in when almost half of one roster has this virus that has killed over 1 million people worldwide. I'm just going to put this out there. Shame on you. Shame on you for not putting human lives above dollars and cents, because right now you're failing epically to do that. So hopefully they do take action on it. Hopefully they do the right thing, and people can come out in one piece from all of this. But I don't like the looks of it for this league right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick before we get to Bears Corner, how about them Cowboys? 1-3. It's not Dak Prescott. That defense was trash. Lost to the Browns 49-38, but it's okay because they play the Giants next. Oh, the good old NFC East. Now, quickly, Bears Corner. I am sad. The Bears lost 19-11 to the Colts. Had sort of a late comeback. They just didn't have enough time. They couldn't do it.
Right.
They have scored more points in the fourth quarter than any other quarter, which is obvious, I think, at this point. They have not scored at all this season in the third quarter, which is a problem. But against the Colts, the defense played the best it has this season. Now, obviously, against the Falcons and the Lions, they did its job to get the ball back, but they still let them get ahead. So defense did its job this time. They put the Bears in a position to win. The offense just didn't do anything with it. Nick Foles was 26-42, 249 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick, which was just barely overthrown. Yeah, Bears fans are already talking about bringing Mitch Trubisky back. What did you expect? no one hates the Bears more than Bears fans themselves. It's like Star Wars, but it's the same as Star Wars. No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. Yeah, so they got to come out firing. Hopefully, when this is premiering, they came out firing against Tampa. Do you see Tom Brady do the thing? Hopefully, Nick Foles did the thing. Maybe they did a Philly special. Oh my God, that was so cool. David Montgomery ran all over that defense. I could be totally wrong, but hopefully I'm happy when this is premiering. Quick NHL hit. More sad news in Chicago. The Blackhawks are not re-signing goaltender Corey Crawford. He's 260, 162, and 53 over 13 seasons. He helped the team to 2 Stanley Cups, and he's the only goaltender with multiple Stanley Cups. He's third in franchise history with wins and the franchise leader in postseason wins. And he was the only reason the Blackhawks stood a chance against the Las Vegas Knights in the playoffs. He was incredible in the short playoff run that the Blackhawks had.
If he was so incredible, why did they get rid of him? Is he getting older? Does he cost too much money? Are they just bottoming out?
He's past his prime. This was a rough season for him, outside of the playoffs, outside of the bubble.
Right.
So it looks like a total rebuild because we also didn't sign Robin Lehner, which probably would have been a huge pay problem anyway too. Right. So I think it's full rebuild. I'll go all in on Stan Bowman later. I'll save that for later. But quickly, the Pac-12 is back, except it's Pac-12 after dawn, not after dark. The AAC schedule was released only one time we know for sure. That is starting at USC, 12 Eastern. So good morning, Arizona.
There's literally a show called Good Morning Arizona I think it's on Arizona's Family from 4:30 to 7 a.m. So
oh my God. Oh yeah.
So they'll be able to run with that a little bit. Good morning, Arizona. Happy Saturday from the college.
Have fun with USC. We'll see how good they are. Oregon's the early favorite to win it all. ASU has 3 road games, U of A at the end of the season, obviously, USC, Colorado, and then 3 home games, UCLA, Cal, and Utah. But their last 3 or 4 games, they don't leave the state of Arizona. So that's really good.
Yeah. But I just got to touch on this really quickly. I've heard a lot of people say that USC could literally make or break. The USC game could make or break the season for the Sun Devils. Nicole, what do you think on that? Do you think this is that first game is literally make or break for them?
Yeah, absolutely. No one really knows what USC is going to be this year. They didn't fire Clay Helton, so maybe it's much of the same. Right. But it is instrumental because from there on out, the rest of those games are not easily winnable, as we've seen in ASU's past, but they're winnable games. So it should be, ASU and Oregon fighting for that top Pac-12 spot. But we'll see. That game is very instrumental for them. But we have the Pac-12 back. So that's cool.
The Pac is back, and we are here for it. Of course, the conversations that we'll have, going forward into the season and everything, 6-7 games, it's going to be fast. It's going to be quick. And, of course, quickness is what we run by on this show, and hard to think that a half an hour has already dripped by. But this is the end, I believe, this week for us. Nicole, you got any last thoughts before we sign off?
Go Bears. Please win. Make me happy.
Of course, the infamous host of Bears Corner, signing off with her usual Chicago best. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Of course, I am your host, Gabby Ducharme. For Nicole Pinter, we will see you all next week. Until then, stay happy and healthy.